Hello, this is a video from the Chemeketa Writing Center, and today we're going to talk about APA style block quotations versus short quotations. We have another video on MLA style, so if that's what your instructor has asked for, you probably want to check out that video instead. If you're used to the MLA style, there's a couple of really key differences in how APA handles block quotations, and we'll go into that in depth in a moment. Now I'm going to assume for the purposes of this video that you have good quality scholarly sources and that you're already adding quotations to your paper to avoid any plagiarism or academic honesty issues. If you have questions about either of those topics, how to get started with scholarly sources or when and how to quote, you want to check out some of my other videos. I'm also going to assume that you've got your paper set up in basic APA format for the layout of your paper. I'll have another video on setting up your APA style for the paper. But this video is limited to your block and your short quotations for APA style. So, the big difference from MLA is MLA wants your quotes under 50 words. APA wants your quotes under 40 words. If it's over 40 words, you're going to have to handle it like a block quotation, and we're going to discuss exactly what that means. All right, let's look at a few examples here. So I've got my paper laid out in APA style, and I've started with my introduction, and then I've started with my first body paragraph, and you'd never want to have a quotation as your topic sentence to the paragraph. So I've got a topic sentence, then I have another sentence that's going to lead into my quote, then I've got my quote. And let's look, 1, 2, 3 lines of text. What was the APA rule here? The APA rule is quotes over 40 words. Now, how can I tell if I have 40 words or not? Now, I could just go 1, 2, 3. That's going to take a long time. Instead, I'm going to highlight my quote and I'm going to come down here to the bottom left corner. It's going to tell me words, 31 out of 572. That means that this quote has 31 words. I'm safe. I don't need to handle it like a block quote. And indeed, I just need to put my APA style citation right at the end of the quote and I'm good. Now, do I want to immediately go into another quotation? No. With APA style and MLA style alike, you want to spend an equal amount of time discussing the quote before you move right into another quote. The bulk of your paragraph should not be quote, 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 quote. If 75% or 80% of your paragraph is quotations, that's a problem. What you want to have is an equal amount of discussion time for each quote that you include. And so that means if this quote is 1, 2, 3 lines long, you want 1, 2, 3 lines discussing that quote. And what sort of things do you want to do to discuss it? You want to analyze it, look at the ramifications of it, discuss long-term implications of it. You might include some more information. You can always have paraphrases to add more information. And again, a paraphrase is where you put something from the source in your own words and completely in your own words, not just changing 1 or 2 words, but putting it all in your own words. If you have a paraphrase as part of your discussion, you're still going to have that APA style citation at the end of your paraphrase. Get rid of that extra period there. So again, citation is not just for quotation. We want to have the majority of our paragraph in our own words, our own thoughts and ideas, and our own analysis of the quotations we're providing. The quotations support your own points and examples. So we've got that handled for this paragraph. Then I go into the second body paragraph. And here I have another topic sentence, nice transition from my first body paragraph. I set up another lead into a quote. I can tell just from looking at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. This has got to be over 40 words. What if I'm not sure? Highlight the amount. highlight the amount of text that's in the quote. Look down here in your bottom left corner. We have 79 words out of 576. That definitely needs to be handled as a block quotation. So to do that, I'm going to remove my quotation marks. I'm going to get the quote all on its own section here. All right, so I've set it up so that my quote is in its own section. Now I can't just leave it here with the left margin. Now, if you've done APA block quote, MLA block quotes, you know that in MLA they indent the whole quote 2 tabs. APA is different. 1 tab. In line with your paragraph indentation. If when you hit the tab key it doesn't seem to indent quite far enough, you want to look and see in your Word program what you've got the tab set to. And a good way to do that is to go to Control All, then go to Paragraph, go to Special, first line of a paragraph, point 5. And that ended up indenting this quote. No, we want all the quote on the same thing. So this paragraph is set off now with this quote is set off from the rest of the paragraph. Now it's important that I don't just go into a new paragraph. I need to discuss this long quote for a while. A paragraph is not just 2 sentences long. A paragraph is 5 to 7 sentences, and I can't have the bulk of my paragraph be this long block quote. I need to spend, again, an equal amount of time discussing this quote. And if I have 6 lines of quote, I better spend at least 4 or 5 lines discussing the quote before I have another quote coming. Now you'll notice, where did I put my citation? I have the period right here and then the citation. That's what's different from the short quote. So now sometimes, let's go back here. Sometimes I've just made a block quote and I really want to make sure that I don't have too many block quotes in my paper. In your average 4 to 5 page research paper, you might have 2 or 3 block quotes. You're not going to have a block quote in every single paragraph, and indeed you're probably not going to have a block quote on every single page. Now what do if you want to include some information from your paper, but you don't need all of the information from that quote? You could remove part of it and that would get you under your 40 words. So in this case, let's come here to the middle. Maybe I don't need to know that it's 40% of sales and I can just remove all of this. And maybe I'll discuss some of this later on in a paraphrase, be able to put it in my own words, my own thoughts below, and still cite back to the source but not have to quote it. And I'm just going to remove it. When I remove it, I insert what's called an ellipsis. Period, space, period, space, period, space. This little thing tells my reader that I took something out. What's important to me is just this amount of information. But when you go back to the source reader, you may find more information there that's relevant for you. Again, I have my citation just in standard APA format. Let's double check and see how many words did I get this down to. 42. Oh, I'm right in that gray area. Maybe the expire in 2004, maybe that's not really necessary. So I'm not limited to just one ellipsis. I can do it again. Again, I'm trying to get my quotation to under 40 words, and now I'm at 38. Perfect. So that's what we want, is we want to try and reduce the number of block quotes using these ellipses to only give our reader what's important. You block quote when each word in that in that source is really unique. You like their phrasing, the way that they've explained it. You can't really see a way to paraphrase it because it's so unique the way that they're explaining it. Then you can justify a block quote. But if it's just ordinary information that you might want to discuss more in depth, that you could paraphrase and give your own thoughts and opinions on, then you want to really remove that information that's not really unique. Discuss that later on, or just leave it out entirely. Don't have a block quote that has a lot of irrelevant information in the middle of it. That's just eating up space of your paper. Your professor won't appreciate that, and it may end up indeed lowering your grade. So be careful that when you block quote, that you're choosing wisely which areas to block quote. Now, what I've shown you here is a pretty standard way of setting up your quote, with the lead-in being its own sentence and then your citation being afterwards. Now, APA likes to do something like this in my third example here. And they like to set up quotes a lot of times with the name of your source, CHEW, and then standard APA citation. I put my year right here, 2014. Now I've got that same really long 79-word quote. I've got to block quote it. How do I do that? Do I put this whole thing? I put the quote like this. Getting it on its own line again. Now I've got it set. One tab. There you go. CHEW 2014 explains, block quote style, period here, the page number at the end. So 2 ways to handle block quotes. One is if you have your source in the first part of your sentence, you'll do it like this. The other way you'll do like we discussed above, where the whole thing is set off. And either way you do it, the whole quote is set off. It's just a matter of, are you including the CHEW as part of the opening sentence, or is the CHEW your citation at the end of it? Now here I showed you how to reduce it. So if I have one paragraph here with a short quote, and then I have another paragraph here with a short quote and plenty of discussion. In my third paragraph, I'm totally justified to have a block quote. Again, the key is to not have block quote after block quote after block quote. If 80% of your paper is quotation, that is a humongous problem. If 30% of your paper is quotation, you can probably get away with that. You want to be careful that the bulk of your paper is not quotations. Paraphrasing is awesome because that's you putting it in your own thoughts, your own ideas, your own words. You want to have a lot of discussion of these sources, how they're relevant, what the implications are, how to take the information further. That's good. Try and have the bulk of your quotations be the short quotations, whether you're an APA or MLA citation. So, to sum it up, with APA, we're looking for, are we under 40 words? We want to try and be under 40 words as much as possible. If we're over 40 words, we're going to treat it like a block quote. Be careful that you're not having too many of those block quotes and that you're balancing it with the equal amount of citation, with an equal amount of discussion. Now, one little extra point is we talked about removing information. If you're adding information, like say you don't like he, you need to tell us exactly who said it in the context of the quote. If you're adding information, use brackets to do that. And this is true whether you're in APA or MLA format. Because sometimes, and I'll just do a quick little example for you here. Sometimes you have something kind of vague, like he reported the significance. Well, who's he? Your source made it clear, but your quote might not. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to tell my reader exactly who the he was, and I'm going to put that in brackets because I'm adding that in. When you're manipulating quotes for your reader, whether it's using ellipses to take out irrelevant information or using brackets to add information that adds clarity, that's great. That's you really working with the source. That's what we want to see. So use ellipses, use brackets to add clarity to your quote, and when you're longer than 40 words, do a block quote in APA style. Try and get it under 40 words whenever you can, and handle those under 40 word quotes just like we did in example 1 within the body of your paragraph. I hope this video has been helpful for you today, and please be sure to check out our other videos on other research paper topics in both APA and MLA format.